Any question? Any question? Any question from the previous classes? Can we? Okay, yeah, we can unmute. So do you have any question? Any question from anyone from the previous classes? Okay. Bukumi Mary, what was your take home from the last class?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. From the last class, we talked about gap analysis and made me understand things that we have to look out for before we carry out any evaluation and all. Basically,
Okay. Elsie, tell us what was your take home from the last class?
Pretty
basically the same. My network. Hello, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, Bukumi, we can hear you now.
Hello?
Bukumi, we can hear you. We can hear you. Sorry, Elsie, you can go on.
Okay, so we looked at gap analysis, which is more or less like the difference between the scope, what the current system is, and where we intend to get the system to be as far as ISO 27001 is concerned. So it looks at all the things that, we need to do in order to become compliant with the requirements of ISO 27001. That's it.
Okay, one more person. Let's take Daniel Solari. What was your take home from the last class?
All right, so I just want to add to what the last person said. So we talked about gap analysis that is definitely that is to determine where we are, current places where we are, and current state where we are, and future state where we want to get to, and also talks about the action plan. And the action plan is to determine current state where we are and desired state where we are going to. And also we also talked about some tools that used to determine current states, like information gathering tools like observation questionnaires, interview method, documentation review, and some scan tools that we use in this to gather this information. So that's it.
Okay. We've said well. So to reiterate, before we go on to today's lecture, we looked at gap analysis in the last class, and then we saw the importance of gap analysis. Do we have? I think someone raised. Okay, nobody. So we saw the importance of gap analysis in the last class, and then I mentioned that if you want to implement any standard, gap analysis is not only applicable to 27001. It's applicable to any standard, any requirement, whatever. So if you want to implement the 27001, it is expected that you do what? You identify the current states in which the organization is. So, and these are the things that you do that make organizations give you, give them that sense that, okay, this person knows what he or she is doing. So you don't just get into a project, right? Better 27001, better whatever standard, whatever requirement. You don't just get into the project and then you just go straight into implementation. No, it doesn't work like that. So it starts from you analyzing the gaps in between the systems. Right? What have they done? What has been done? And then where do they want to get to? Look at the maturity level, right? So sometimes the organization may be at maturity level 0, nothing has been done. And then where they want to get to can be maturity level 3 or even 2. So they can be realistic. Some people will say, we want to get to maturity level 5. That's not realistic. From zero, it is not realistic. Because getting to a certain maturity level means you need to invest heavily in a lot of things. Invest heavily in people, invest heavily in resources, invest heavily in technology. If I carry out an assessment of maturity level for organizations currently, even core fintechs, core banking organizations, some of them are still on maturity level 4 and some maturity level 3. And some fintechs are still on maturity level 2. So if any organization tells you that from maturity level 0, they want to get to maturity level 5, it is not realistic. Right? So gap assessment, even though you want to get to a certain level, you have to select, appropriate, realistic goal where you know that this organization can get to, or where the organization knows that they can get to, right? So just to wrap that up, gap analysis helps to identify. It solves 80% of your problem, because from there you already know what the company is doing right, what they are not doing right, and what they are doing but still needs improvement. And that's where gap analysis comes in. Now we want to go into core implementation of the ISO 27001, right? And this is one of the most important parts of this training. And I will not just go straight into the material that I will share and then go straight into taking you through day 1 material or day 2 or day 3 or day 4. I will start from the standard in itself, because what you want to implement is not the material that you are studying. That material belongs to PECB. PECB is a certification body, Persons Evaluation Certification Board. So what PECB did was that they were able to, PECB was able to understand the requirement of the standard, and they were able to, come up with relevant materials. And I can assure you that PECB has one of the most complete material in the world. Right? Very, very good resource. However, whether you are implementing, whether you are auditing, whether you are being audited, the standard in which you'll be audited against is this standard I am presenting to you, which is ISO 27001. And then I mentioned that the ISO 27001 has 2 parts. Alonge Peter, can you remind us? I mentioned that ISO 27001 has 2 parts. Can you remind us the 2 parts that I talked about? Peter has dropped off. Akpeno Oyi, can you remind us? I mentioned ISO 27001 has 2 parts. What are those parts?
Hello, good evening. So, if I could remember, you mentioned that the first 3 items on ISO 27001 are not they are not like a requirement, they are just like general information. And then from clauses 4 to 10 are requirements which must be adhered to ensure the implementation. Thank you.
Okay. So you are saying the 2 parts, the first 3 requirements, the first 3 are not requirements, 4 to 10 are requirements. Somebody raised their hand. I need somebody who has a contrary opinion.
Right, and so I'd say
Yeah, Daniel.
the 2 parts are the management controls, that's plus 4 to 10, then the annex controls and annex controls.
Okay, Daniel said management controls and annex controls. Who has a contrary opinion? Folashade Adepoju.
Oh, I don't have a contrary opinion. It's the same thing.
Sadiq Badmus.
Yeah, thank you. Management clauses and Annex A controls.
Good. It is not management controls. Management clauses and Annex A controls. Please, let's have that at the back of our mind. Now, look at the standard of the ISO 27001. From clauses 1 to 3 are generic information. They are not information. These are not requirements. Just like was it Daniel? Daniel mentioned. Was it Daniel or who was the first person that spoke? So clauses 1 to 3 are not requirements. They just contain information. But you see clauses 4 to 10 and the annex controls are requirements. Now, clauses 4 to 10 are the management clauses. Now I'm explaining the standard to you. Clauses 4 to 10 are the management clauses. Now, these are the Okay, when we get there, I'll speak into that. Now, clauses 4 to 10 are the management clauses. And then we have the annex controls. Now, this annex controls contains 93 controls divided into 4. Organizational control, people control, physical security control, and technological control. By the time we get to our clause 6, you will see that your annex control are gotten from clauses 6.1.2 and 6.1.3. So annex control are not apart from the management clauses, even though we just try to let you know that we have 2 parts. But then annex control is still part of the framework. Now, this clause 4, this is the framework of the ISO 27001, clause 4 to 10 and the annex control. What do we call a framework? It's just like you want to build, you are building a house, or let's start with building a house. The foundation is the framework. Or let's say you've completed that building to limited. When you want to do your roofing, the skeleton, that wood that you put in place is the framework, because it is the one that holds the roof, the body. Also the same thing with the foundation. The foundation is the framework. It is the one that carries the house. Now, this is what carries the house, and we need to know what the standard is talking about. And then the standard starts from clause 4, goes to clause 5, goes to clause 6, goes to clause 7, goes to clause 8, goes to clause 9, goes to clause 10, and then annex control. These clauses, I know them by heart. It's not like I've crammed it, but because I have implemented and audited over time, I know them. The annex control, the reason why I know, let's say 20%, 20 to 50% of the annex control by heart is because it's just a new standard. The controls changed. But the 27,001 2013, I think I know virtually everything, right? This is what you are going to implement for any organization, and this is what you are going to be audited against. Before I go to opening the material for us, I want to use, there's a typical example I use, a cream business. Let's say you want to start a cream business, you want to start selling cream or body cream, right? Do you jump? Okay, let me ask someone. Let me ask Bukola. Tell us, if you want to start, let's say you want to start selling cream, what do you think you are going to do? How do you start the business? Bukola Abdullahi.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So first thing first, you do your visibility study. You should have your target audience. Now, it now depends on who your target audience, because the purpose of you going into business is one way or the other to make profit. So are you the kind of production in terms of the cream, what you're trying to do? Are you looking for the fair or the dark? So are you also looking at, okay, for the dark skin people, do you want them to be fair? So first thing first, do your visibility and actually now go further to actually do have your target audience before you now go into production mainly.
Very good. Very good. Now, this thing that Bukola just mentioned, who can tell me where this thing is in this clause? In clause 4. Or Bukola, can you identify what you just mentioned now, visibility study? And then you talked about whether you want to say to black people or fair people. Where do you think it is in this clause 4, context of the organization?
It's on the management level.
On the management, Bukola is a politician, so it's on the management level. Daniel Sholari, where do we have what Bukola just explained? He said what?
Clause 4.2, understand the needs and expectation of interested parties.
We have brilliant students in this class. Very good. Needs and expectation of interested party. Now, you cannot start a business and you just jump into starting the business. And that's why we have a lot of failures in businesses, because no identification of the context of that business, of the organization. So everything I explain now, just as I'm explaining it, put it in perspective of the ISO 27001. Because you cannot just jump straight into saying, I want to implement 27001 for an organization, and you just implement. Even though 27001 is applicable to any organization, irrespective of the size, the culture, the type, whatever they do. But then every organization has its own context. Now, I audited an organization some times ago, and then I reviewed another company carried out what we call gap assessment for them, did implementation, carried out gap assessment. So as part of the audit, I reviewed their gap assessment report. And I saw a technological control, the reports around the technological control that gave the company non-conformity for not having a SIM tool. Now, what is a SIM tool? A SIM tool is a security information and event monitoring tool. What a SIM tool does is that it aggregates the log of events from various log sources. So you can aggregate, instead of going to your firewall to review the log, going to your AWS, review the log, going to your mobile devices to review the log, a SIM tool will aggregate all of those logs and give you a single dashboard. Now, this person identified that as a non-conformity, that the company did not have a SIM tool, and then is recommending that they should get a SIM tool. And when I saw that report, I was disappointed. Why? Because this company, everything that this company had was just email. So tell me, why are you recommending that they should get a SIM tool? Why are you giving them a non-conformity for not having a SIM tool? The answer is because the person did not identify the context of that organization. If I audit FinTech A that just started 6 months ago, and then FinTech B that has started like 7 years ago, the context differs. So where I will be lenient with FinTech A, in the sense that there are some certain level of technology that they may necessarily not need to get, because 27,001 will not force you to buy a tool, even though a tool will enhance your security processes. So a company that has 5 staff, just 5 staff, you are penalizing them for not, or as an implementer, you are telling them, you are recommending that they should go and get Sophos, or you are telling them to get Jump Cloud for a company of 5 staff. Because security control should have a balance between cost and benefits. Do you understand? If they want to buy it, fine. But you should not penalize them and force them to go and get that tool. Why? Because there are just 5 persons in the company. There are administrator controls that they can still put in place, that they can manage. Maybe controls like they will just give you a standard user, but they have administrator control around it. You cannot install application. You cannot change the firewall setting. There are things that you cannot do, even though they do not have a tool that centrally manages the devices. That is identification of context, even though it is the same 27,001. And that is why all ISO standards start from context of the organization. Context of the organization. Because you need to know the business that you want to do. Just like Bukola mentioned, feasibility study. So clause 4.1 is now saying, first understand the organization and its context. What is the vision of the company? What is the mission of that company? What are the strategic objectives? Because when we get to clause 6.2, this information security objective, you are going to coin out security objectives that will align with the company's strategic objective. And then you are going to measure that objective when you get to clause 9, monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. So you need to identify from context, clause 4.1, identify the mission, the vision of the organization. You need to identify their core values, the objectives, the policies that they have in place already, what the business stands for, the jurisdiction in which they play, the space that they function in. So once you identify those, then you identify their internal and external issues. When you go to clause 4.1, by the time I scroll down now, you see what clause 4.1 is saying. Clause 4.1 is talking about you as an organization identifying your internal and external issues. Now, let me give a typical example. If I am implementing for you for the first time, part of your internal issues by default will be maybe lack of security processes. Let's say for a company that do not have functional security processes in place, lack of security processes. Or maybe you see that management is not really committed to security issues. From your assessment, during your assessment, you'll be able to identify those issues. You can say lack of management commitment. It's an internal issue. Because once you identify the internal and external issues, it helps you to now put relevant processes in place to tackle those issues, to tackle those security issues. External issues by default, we have cyber attacks. You cannot control that. Those are issues that are outside of the organization. Cyber attacks. Let me come back to the cream business, and from what Bukola mentioned, internal issue can be maybe lack of market understanding. Let's say this is the first time we are going into the cream business. We do not really understand the market. It's an issue. So because I have now identified that lack of market understanding, when you get to clause 6.1, you are planning for the I will be jumping, not like I'm jumping, but I'll be explaining some things. Let's say we have identified one of the internal issues as lack of market understanding. In clause 6.1, planning, it says address risk and opportunity. That risk from that internal issue, lack of market understanding, how do we address it? I can now say, okay, let's look for a consultant that understands this business, or let's do market visibility. Can you now see that we have tackled the internal issue that will affect that business that we want to do? And that is how you identify internal issue also for the ISO 27001. Internal issue can be gotten from various sources, can be gotten from SWOT analysis, can be gotten from PESTO analysis, Porter 5 analysis that organizations do. It can also be gotten from asking questions from heads of department. You can meet HR. What are the security concerns that you have in your business, within your jurisdiction? They can tell you, we don't have automated tools in place. We do things manually. When things are done manually, there can be a problem in security. That is an internal issue. You identify it, you coin it, you bring out those issues. You identify the external issues also. Do you understand? Now, once you have identified the internal and external issue, you go on to what Bukola said, understanding the needs and expectation of interested party. Now, who are the interested parties within this organization that security will affect, which is the 27,001 that we are implementing? Now, let me go to the cream business. Who are the interested parties that the cream business will affect? Okay. Now let me ask Busayo. Busayo, a cream business, who do you think are interested parties? Busayo, more.
Yes, I'm here. I'm thinking about your answer.
Bukola has mentioned some. Let me pick someone else. You can see that I'm calling the ladies because they are the one that Orelua. Who do you think are interested parties when we talk about cream? You want to sell cream. Who are the most important interested parties?
When we want to sell cream, important interested
Yeah.
parties are ladies, women, and people that care
Mhm.
about their skin. Then we have babies too, depending on the kind of cream. Women, babies,
Okay.
men.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Bukumi, what comes to mind?
Okay, I would say majorly ladies, but I also say I would say majorly ladies, but I also put an age range. I'll say between the ages of mostly from 18 to 45 years or 50 years. Let me put it that way. And also the male too can also fall under
Okay.
that age range.
Okay. So I was looking for a particular name. Now, let me use the word external. Who do you think is a very, very critical external interested party? Let me ask Robinson. Robinson, who do you think is a very critical external interested party?
I think it's the end users.
End users.
Yes.
End users.
End users
Okay.
in this sense. Now the people that purchase this cream, and like the ladies have said, if we now want to classify it down further, we can now say women, women, children, and men, because not every man rubs cream.
Okay. Which agency is responsible for managing things around cream?
NAFDAC.
NAFDAC. NAFDAC is a
I
very
think
critical
NAFDAC is food though.
National Action for Food Drug Administration Control.
Yeah, it's anything.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
why I
it's
said I think it's
And
food. It doesn't have anything
SON,
to do with
Standard
food.
Organization of Nigeria.
Standards Organization, Sun. No, I don't think Sun is the one. They have their own what's it called?
So we have
They
agency
have
for medicinal products too, because they will need to know the kind of content.
okay. I think NAFDAC also has a touch point on it. Now, why I'm saying this is because there are interested parties, especially external interested parties. They are very critical to your business. I'm not saying internal interested parties are not important, but you see external interested parties, they can throw you out of business. For instance, if you are a fintech, you must fulfill the requirement of CBN. If you don't fulfill the requirement of CBN, CBN can collect your license. And once they collect your license, okay, she said it's NAFDAC. All right. So once they collect your license, you can't do business anymore. You have disrupted one of the core triads of information security, that's availability. Your processes, your services are not available anymore. Now, understanding the needs and expectation of the interested party. Now, what is the need of that external interested party, NAFDAC? You need to fulfill their requirements. You need to go through relevant checks and then get a NAFDAC registration number. The customers that will be buying from you, what are their needs and expectations? Some of their needs and expectations will be sell quality products to them. Also, ease of having access to you, right? Good customer support. Because the identification of these needs helps you to be able to also plan for these interested parties. So let's come back to 27001 and let's use the fintech space as a typical example. If the fintech, let's use generically, let's say Folashade's microfinance bank. Internal interested party will be someone like people like the internal staff, relevant management, C-level staff, information owners within the organization. And then some of their needs and expectations will be, HMO, especially for staff. HMO should be in place. Maybe confidentiality of their information, also privacy of their information, also should be. Those are the needs and expectations of your interested parties. Because if you do not keep to those needs and expectations, it can disrupt your business, disrupt operation. Also, we have external interested parties. We have customers. We have regulators. Regulators are key external interested parties. We have suppliers, because you also need to identify and understand the needs and expectations of suppliers. Service level agreement that you have with them. Maybe you are supposed to pay them at a certain period. You need to pay them. You also need to stay within the scope of the services that you have stated, that they have also stated that they are going to render to you as an organization. So that is the importance of identifying the needs and expectations of interested party. And a typical example I used to use in trainings like this is Speed Darlington. Speed Darlington is a very funny guy, right? And he's a very nonsense guy also. You can see him all over the place. Now, Speed Darlington bought refrigerator from LG. I think around last year or last 2 years, bought a refrigerator. The refrigerator got bad, and I think just a few weeks from when he got the refrigerator, and then he sent them a mail, called them to come and fix it. They did not come. So what did Speed Darlington do? He went online and started ranting, telling people not to buy from LG. Now, Lawal Shaliwa, can you tell us what kind of interested party is Speed Darlington, internal or external? Internal or external? Lawal Shaliwa. Who can answer us? Yeah, Orolua.
The next external party.
External, because he's a customer. Now, Speed Darlington started ranting, came on Instagram, went to Twitter, blah, blah, blah. People should not buy from them, this and that. Now, this is what I'll tell you. Consciously or subconsciously, there are people that will not buy LG products at that particular time. Let's say they get to ShopRite or they get to somewhere or Spa, and then they want to get a refrigerator. Subconsciously, some of them can see LG product and they'll be like, don't let me buy this one because they have bad customer support. That is the power of an interested party. So what did LG do? Because they identified the power of an interested party, especially external interested party, immediately they saw that video, they sent somebody to go and fix that stuff. The same speed analytics came again, say they have fixed it too, don't mind them, they are rubbish people, blah, 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 and the likes. Now, if they had not fixed that stuff, they would have lost a lot of money, and that will impact on the growth of the business. And let me tell you, 27,001 is not just for security's sake. 27,001 is there to make money for the business. And that is why a lot of companies are just implementing for compliance sake. If people actually implement 27,001 effectively and well, it is a security tool, it's a weapon, and then it will help the business make more money for the organization because you have, good turnaround time, and then you have fantastic process in place, understanding the needs and expectation, and then determining the scope of the information security management system. Now, in this case, let me come back to the cream business. Are you selling to kids? Are you selling to adults? Are you selling to black people? Are you selling to fair people? Are you selling to only Nigerians? Are you selling to other people outside the country? That is what scope is talking about. And then we have clause 5, leadership. Once you are done identifying the context of that business, the organization, you go to leadership. The people that owns the business, this cream business, they put leadership process in place. They are committed. They have relevant policies. They start putting out rules, because you, as the owner of the business, you cannot be the marketer. You cannot be this. You cannot. Sometimes it happens, but you start putting relevant rules in place. Okay, we need a marketer. Okay, we need this. Okay, we need that. Oh, we need a compliance person. Oh, we need a lawyer. We need an accountant. Once leadership is being put in place, it goes on to planning. Planning, you address risks and opportunities. There are risks that will come from your issues, internal and external issues. And also note that the internal and external issues are not only negative. If you have a committed leadership or a supportive leadership, it's an internal issue. If you have enthusiastic staff, young staff, there are internal issues. Because look at what clause 6.1 is saying. This is actions to address risks and opportunities. So where there are opportunities, you can exploit them. For instance, young staff, you can exploit that because they are still young, they are still vibrant and agile. And then where there are risks, you address, put actions also in place to do what? To treat those risks. And then it goes on to carry out risk assessment on the business. What are the threats? What are the things that will make the resources not function the way you want them to function? What are the things that make the business not go the way you want it to go? And then put relevant objectives in place. And then you go on to support. Clause 7, resources. Start getting resources, financial resources, people resources, technical resources, resources in terms of knowledge. It goes on to competence. Those roles that you have identified in clause 5.3, start putting relevant process in place for them to acquire competence. It is possible that it is your friend that is helping you as a marketer, not that the person understands marketing terms like that. So part of competence can be, okay, you, my friend, go and learn marketing terminologies or go for marketing course. Competence, and people start acquiring competence. In 27,001, people start learning, maybe lead implementer, just like we have the training now, lead implementer training, or people go for lead auditor training, or people go to write CISA, CISM, CISSP, relevant certifications. You go for relevant trainings that will improve their competence. And then there's awareness, there's communication where applicable, and then there are documented information, policies, processes, procedures that will guide this framework. And then it goes on to operation. This is where you now operate everything that you have been building, from context of the organization, from leadership process that are in place, from planning the ISMS, From the support you have put in place, then you operate the information security management system. After operation, what do? You evaluate the performance of what you have been building over time, the security controls, the processes, the requirements. You carry out performance evaluation. And some of the ways you can carry out performance evaluation is you monitor, measure, analyze, and evaluate those security controls that you have put in place. Let me give a typical example. Annex 6.3, information security awareness, education, and training. Part of your evaluation will now be, okay, at the end of this year, we have implemented 27,001 in January 1st. By December 25, we want to evaluate the effectiveness of information security awareness, education, and training. How do we evaluate it? Okay, we plan that we are going to carry out awareness per month. That is 12 awareness in a year. By the end of the year, we want to see that we have carried out 12. If we have not done 12 out of 12, it means we have failed and we did not fulfill the requirement of that control. That is performance evaluation. The performance of the information security controls, processes that you have put in place over time, you evaluate it. Part of performance evaluation also is internal audits. Then, after implementation, after context, put leadership process in place. You have planned the ISMS, you have supported, you've operated the ISMS, and then someone comes independently to carry out an audit of what you have done so far. And then it goes on to management review. This is where top management now comes. Okay, we want to evaluate the performance, what you have been doing so far. Now, tell us what are the internal and external issues. Tell us where we have leadership support and failure. What are the non-conformities? What are the improvement processes? These are things that management review. And it's still part of performance evaluation also. By the time you are done with performance evaluation, it goes on to improvement, because in evaluating, you have seen the things you are doing well, the things you are not doing well, and then you do what? You improve on that in terms of non-conformity, where things are very bad, put process in place to close them. Where things are good, but they can be improved, put process in place to do what? To improve them. And this typical example I have given is typical way of implementing the ISO 27001. Start from organizational context. You understand the business, leadership support. Because see, if this clause 5 fails, if it fails, forget anything about 27,001. You cannot get value. If you are going to get value, to be minimal. Leadership support is very, very key to the implementation of the information security management system. So very important that we understand this structure, and then so that by the time I go on to the training slide, it's a refresh, because this is the standard. This is what you need to know. And then if you scroll down the standard, you will see the requirements. You can see this is where clause 4 starts from. See, the organization shall. Remember when we were defining, I mentioned vocabulary that the requirements are written in verb shall. You will see shall everywhere. You can see clause 4.3, the organization shall. Clause 4.2, the organization shall. It means you must do it if you are claiming conformity to it. And then look at what clause 4.1 says. The organization shall determine external and internal issues. Very clear. Determine it. Clause 4.2 is saying the organization shall determine interested parties that are relevant to the ISMS. Determine them. Then understand their requirements. Identify their requirements and requirements that you will address through the information security management system. Very, very fantastic framework. And then you can see the requirements goes on, and we are going to look at the requirements as we go on in the training. Do you have any question? Any question before we move on? Any question? Do you need clarity anywhere? Yeah, Robinson.
All right. Yeah. So thank you so very much for the explanation you've given so far. Now we all agree that ISO 27001 has two parts, which is the management clause and the Annex A clause, right? So for the management clause side,
Exit controls.
Annex A controls, yeah. So which actually it's the first part which starts uh, from 4 to 10, right? So my question is, do we have to make our policies for that 4 to 10, or is just something we need to have more like a tabletop conversation on?
No. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. It's not a tabletop conversation. So whatever is not documented is not practiced. That is what security is. Because how do I know that you have identified your internal and external issues? Right? Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay. Let me I can't even see it. Let me present again. How do I know that you have documented your internal and external issues? If you do not show me and like a documentary evidence and you just tell me that, oh, you talked about it. Now 27,001 is also all about continuity. If you as the, let's say, the ISMS manager or a critical person within the organization, if you leave the company, you have gone with that idea, that knowledge, that understanding, what now happens to the business? There is no continuity. Do you understand? No continuity because it was not documented. So every process, every procedure, whatever requirement needs to be backed by a documentary evidence. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
All right. Do you have any other question? I don't know why I can't share my screen. It's not allowing me to share my screen again. Okay, yeah, I can share my screen. Any other question?
None from my end.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Bukumi.
Okay, sir. My question is regarding what he just asked about. So you said something about, oh, there must be an evidence. So is it that in situations like this there must be an internal auditor who has to monitor that this process is carried out before basically, is it that there must be an internal auditor to ensure that the process is carried out? That means maybe it might be a monthly check-in, weekly check-in or something.
Yeah. So there must first have been an implementation. Someone like you and I must have implemented first. Then there will be an internal auditor to check whether these things were done. So once the internal auditor has checked where there are non-conformities, where there are lapses, it goes on to continual improvement and non-conformity check and closure. Once the non-conformities are closed, you go on to your external audit and you get certified as an organization. But the truth is, you cannot close everything. There are things that the external auditor will still bring out. We still see and say, oh, you did not do earlier, you did not do earlier. That external auditor that is also auditing you, that is telling you that you did not do earlier, you did not do earlier. If that person implements it and you audit that person, you will still see some things. And that's why there's room for improvement. That's why there's clause 10 in the standard improvements, which means there can be non-conformities, there can be room for improvement also. I hope that answers your question also, Bukumi.
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay. Please give me 1 minute and then we continue with the training. Just give me a minute. All right. Okay. So do you have any other question before we go on? Any question before we go on? I was thinking we should do class 4, but today is Sunday. So let's have another class tomorrow. I want us to end this training by next Sunday, and then midweek we are going to, that's the midweek after next Sunday, we are going to have our mock exam. And then after the mock exam, the professional exam should be written on Friday. Upper Friday, we would have selected the 3 people that we want to write the exam, and then they should write the exam by Upper Friday. So let's do 7. Okay, let's do 8 p.m. tomorrow again because of those that are working in the UK. So let's do 8 to 9 p.m. tomorrow, and then we'll review clause 4 and clause 5. Right. So by Saturday, we'll finish the management clauses. By Sunday, we'll do the annex control. I'm not going to touch all of the annex control. We are going to read up some of them. So I'll just talk about the controls, and then we go ahead and read up on them. Right. And then we'll move on from the training. Yeah. Someone dropped. Okay. Did anybody raise their hand? Yeah, Daniel.
All right, so I want to ask a question about the professional exam. How is the exam like? Is it a set? Are we going to like go to the center, or are we just going to speak from our comfort of our own house? Or I don't know. I don't know how the exam is structured. So I want to
Okay, it's a proctored exam. So you are not going to any center. It's a proctored exam. You will write it at the comfort of your home, and then it's objective, purely objectives, right? So yeah, that's it. So you get a link to register. You register, you go to their portal, then you write the exam, and that's pretty much it.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Any other question? Any other question? Okay. I have not seen any question on the group chat so far. Does that mean the classes have been clear? We don't go back to the videos and then we are fine. Yeah, Akpenowi.
Yes, thank you once again. So mine is not a question, just like comments on what we have discussed so far today and so far on all the classes we have been having. So I do appreciate the effort. This training has really opened my eye to a lot of things. Now today you emphasized on the importance of leadership, in the implementation of the ISMS. And I would like to reiterate and say that leadership is so important in any management system, and even basically anything we do in our workplace. So if there is absence of leadership, the achievement of the goal would be minimal. You might not be able to achieve it, or even if you get to get staff that are willing to try to achieve that, it may be limited to what they can achieve. So this training has opened my eye to a lot of things that can be applicable to my work. So because I work as an IT auditor, so all of what we have been discussing here resonates a lot with me. So I really do appreciate the effort. This training alone has really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and this is an appreciation to you for giving us this opportunity to learn. With
All
you.
right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining the training also. Right. In as much as this is a free training, putting your time also is part of the payment you have made. Right. And if you guys were not on this call, we will not have this training also. So yeah, that is appreciated too. Yeah, Busayo.
Yes, I was wondering if it's possible to also get like past questions, practice questions, just to get used to the.
APC, past question. You will not see any past question. Go online and search for
Oh,
past question.
really?
Yes.
Wow, wow.
But I can assure you that if you pass the mock exam, if you pass the mock exam, then you should be like some certain percent ready for the final exam, right? Also, we are going to pick 3 persons to write the exam for free, and then we are going to slash prices for the rest, right? So ideally, the exam fee is around 500, 550K. It's around 500, 550K, right? So for those that will be writing, it will be free. For those that will not pick, but you want to write it, you can pay 300, 350. I'll speak with my guys. So whatever they see, can make that payment, and then they can also register it. But 3 people will write the exam for free, and that is standard, right? In fact, we pay the certification body just to send their names to the certification body. So yeah, that's that. So Bukola, you can go online and search for questions, right? Or just read through the material. The moment you are familiar with the terminologies, I think you should be good to go. But some questions will be strange there. Don't let me lie to also. I will not promise us heaven and earth. Some questions will be strange, which we need you to think and review well. Yeah, Orolua.
Please, I want to confirm this exam, this mock exam we're writing, is it strictly based on ISO 27001?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Okay. So guys, let's enjoy our nights, and then we'll continue tomorrow 8 p.m. I'll share the link for tomorrow's class with us. Right. So good night and bye everyone.
Sorry, Mr. Kennedy, before you leave. The materials. When are we going
Just
to
hold
get
on,
this?
like this. Let me share the material.
All right,
I
thank
will
you,
just
sir.
share the link with us so that we'll just go straight to
Thank you so much.
Hold on, I'll just share the link with us and then make it open. Yeah, so I'm working on it, right? So I'll just share with us. I'll share with us and then okay. Yeah, I'll drop it on the group chat. All right. Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. Good night, sir.
Thank you. Good night.